Reddit, what is the worst secret your so is keeping from you, but that you actually know? The first time my so and I slept together, I woke up during the night to use the bathroom. I came back in the room and she farted one of the loudest farts I've ever heard. I started laughing like crazy and she almost woke up. Almost. We've been together for 7 years. He lied about his last name, age, degree, being in the military and being a sex offender. I only figured out the lie about the degree and broke it off. Then started stalking me and I figured out everything else. I don't know if he figured out that I know everything else. We live in a relatively small town and a girl was about to meet up with him. I warned her. He is still lying about his age. You're not 29, Charlie. You're 42 and frick you. Ex-girl. She had a fairly large scar on her back and was incredibly self-conscious about it. She wouldn't even take her shirt off the first time we had intercourse. When I asked her about it, she said she had fallen from her horse when she was young. Fast forward a little and I'm out finding her a birthday present and have enlisted the help of her friend. I pick out a hot singlet and her friend just looks at me like I'm stupid. Apparently the scar on her back, which the singlet clearly revealed, wasn't from a fall, but an abusive ex-boyfriend who had pushed her onto his motorbike's exhaust pipe and burnt her. We ended on good terms, and I never told her I knew. I hope she is doing well. Her Caesar salad dressing. It's actually the best thing ever, but even after 2 years she refuses to tell me what's in it. What she doesn't know is that I have secretly been watching her make it over the past few months. I have finally pieced it together and now I have the power. He claims he doesn't love the new cat his parents adopted. Claims she always just sleeps in his room for some reason. Motherfrica loves that cat so much. I know she ate those cookies. My ex. And the cheating. She thinks I found out when I looked at her phone, but I knew about 2 months earlier when she sent me a pic of herself watching Netflix in bed. I don't think she realized that the dude's face was 100% visible reflected in the laptop. After that it was a matter of me being in denial and trying to fix things. Everybody likes snacks, right? Some of us like chips, others like fruit, or yogurt. Well, my wife likes croutons. Frozen croutons to be exact, and she tries to hide it like an alcoholic hides bottles of vodka. Where does she hide the croutons? In the freezer. At first I'd put them in the pantry when we get home from the grocery store, but they'd always end up in the freezer. I'd be like, Hon, what's up with the croutons in the freezer? And she'd act like she had no idea what I was talking about. Now here's the thing. I've tried them and now I'm addicted to them too. So now I openly eat cold croutons out of the freezer as a snack, and she tells me what a weirdo I am while she eats half the bag with me. No idea why she's embarrassed to admit what a genius she is for discovering such an awesome snack. BTW, the best kind is Chatham Village garlic and cheese flavor. A girl I dated a few years back had just graduated with her bachelor's, so I took her out for a night on the town. Her and our friends got absolutely demolished, and since this was before Uber, I volunteered to be DD. So around 2 AM she's tanked. We head out and she wants Crystal burgers. Very adamant about that. So I stop by Crystal's and order a steamer pack so I can have some too and then have leftovers. She eats somewhere around 8. I get her home, get her into her bed, and she immediately passes out. I am sitting next to her watching some TV when I smell something. I notice that she has just crapped herself. She is one of those people who would be so ashamed of herself if anyone found out, so I just left. I called her the next day and told her I dropped her off, got her some water and headed home. Never mentioned her crapping herself or anything, so to this day she thinks she did it in her sleep after I left. I could have stayed and helped her clean it up, and I probably should have, but she would have cried over that and avoided me sporadically for weeks. I knew for 1.5 years about my engagement ring and never told him until after he proposed. He was not so good at hiding. My wife dropped my iPhone in a porta potty toilet. Luckily it has been so used there was a large pile of crap which gently held the phone above the liquid. She cleaned it off and gave it back to me. A year later I upgraded and gave her my old phone. She insisted on purchasing a new cover even though I had a high-end OtterBox. I never understood why until one of the kids told on her. My ex made up a person and spoke to me as them. We met when we were quite young and were both pretty weird. I put it down to insecurity and wanting to look like she had cool friends. I was a little older. I never let on that I knew because it would have been super embarrassing for her, and this was literally the start of the relationship. She made up quite a few stories about this guy and I got a few emails from him. She didn't realize that changing the name of the account didn't actually change the address, which was fully visible. She smokes when I'm not home. I know this because I always move the router to the window where the signal's best. When I come home the router is in a different position away from the window. I put it back without her knowing and call her out for smoking. She has no idea how I keep finding out. I'm his first girlfriend. He's 42. His affair. I knew for 3 weeks before he left to look after his allegedly sick dad, and for 2 weeks after before I told him I knew. He said last week he's ended it and sees what he has missed, but I know he's still sleeping and living with her whilst messaging me. Basically what he just did to me. I'm his wife. We were together 12 years. He just can't stop lying. He may be genuinely remorseful right now, but I can't get past his deceit. My ex peed the bed. He didn't know that I knew. You're in big trouble, mister. I know she looks at my Reddit. She waits until I sleep to steal my pillows. He hides chocolate bars in his work bag, bastard. She is breaking up with me tomorrow, said she wants to talk, and it's not something we can talk about in texts. We are on the verge of a breakup for like 2 months now, feels bad. My soon-to-be ex-wife met another guy about a year and a half ago. She was so bad at hiding it that I thought she wanted to get caught, posting romantic stuff on her Instagram when we hadn't been romantic in a long time. Confronted her, lied even with solid evidence. A few months later stuff starts disappearing from the house. Pretty obvious that she's moving out. Then we started to have no money every month, and I have a pretty okay job. Realized she was stealing money basically by paying her bills twice a month with 3-4x the minimum payment and not paying mine. Let it go on for a bit and finally confronted her. She doesn't admit to it. I finally just pull my check from our joint account and she says she's leaving but is going to be homeless. The next day she had changed her Facebook back to her maiden name and had a picture of her and the other guy at their new place. I don't know if this counts. I am not sure what events led up to it, but he pooped the bed. I am guessing he trusted a fart he shouldn't have, but it happened. He didn't hide it very well. He just put the sheets in the washing machine but didn't start it, so I smelled it. He claims the dog sharted, but the boxes he attempted to hide, pretty haphazardly I might add, in the trash, tell a different story. I have attempted to bring it up, but I don't want to break the illusion he has of himself being the James Bond of bed crapping. Before my ex-wife and I had first split up, I had found out she was hiding a storage unit with an entire apartment set aside in it, just in case the breakup went bad. She worked graveyard, and I was using her laptop while watching The Walking Dead to use the story sync. And because she uses all Apple products, her iMessage was tied to her MacBook. I don't normally read her messages, but considering the amount of notifications that were chiming in, I could tell she was having a rather lengthy conversation. I opened it and started reading, and it turns out she had sent a picture message of a fully packed storage unit to her best friend out in South Carolina. It had furniture, appliances, essentially everything she needed to start out with an apartment on her own. I sat on that for several months, before finally bringing it up out of nowhere. We were literally sitting on the couch one night and I just turned to her and said, "So I know about your storage unit." She about crap a brick. It was the last thing she ever expected to hear because she thought she was being sneaky. Conversation actually went quite well though, and we ended up deciding that we were going to file for divorce. That divorce just finalized the 3rd of March of this year. My wife wouldn't let me touch her head. Well, while we were dating she wouldn't let me touch her head or play with her hair. For the longest time she avoided it. Her mom asked, didn't I know about her condition? I said no, and she told me I may find out one day. Anyway, she, my GF wife, invited me to stay the night one night, and of course I was all about it. As we laid there I pulled her to me and ran my fingers through her hair. She didn't fight and didn't say anything, but I could feel her scars, and how her skull had healed. I felt her tears rolling down my forearm. I told her no matter any scar, or anything else I was never going to let her go, because I swore in that moment I would take care of her for the rest of my life. We dated about 6 months, and have been married for 10 years. Brain surgery, and seizures never stop me from being the best man and friend I can be for her. I've always been her second option. Was a prostitute and was in some adult films, and worked as an exotic dancer when young and hungry, retired, bought a food truck. I loved the coffee and grilled cheese sandwiches. Fell in love. Doesn't think I know. Doesn't know I don't care. I'll never tell. He spent a ton of money on Bruins tickets this year. Whenever he got tickets to a match he claimed he got them for free through work or downplays the cost, but I know he paid for them. I don't really mind since he can spend his money how he wants, but it's funny to me that he thinks I wouldn't realize he's spending a few $100 every time he goes to a game. She flushes her tampons down the toilet, which clogs it every so often. Blames it on big turds. She fricked my boss before we knew each other, before I had been hired into the company. I'm not mad about it or anything. Everyone has a past, but she carefully dances around ever coming into my work now, and I'm careful not to bring him up. He gets off to pictures on Facebook of girls we know. We were long distance when we first started dating. The one time she came up to where I lived for 4 days, but I had to work during one of the days. When I was gone she had to take a dump and clogged the toilet. She couldn't get it to plunge and was freaking out, so she went to the kitchen and got a fork and a plastic bag and dug the turds out of the bowl and threw everything in the dumpster out back. She called her friend panicking and the friend thought it was hilarious. Friend told me about it one night when the girl had left the room after we moved in together. I find it funny but don't want to embarrass her. Her ex is in town and she is secretly meeting him behind my back. I know this because her location is always shared with me due to her habit of forgetting where her phone is. This is in the past, but still a good one. Ended up finding out that my now ex-girlfriend was cheating on me after hearing one of my parrots pick up, "Oh, God, yes, Jim," in a rather scratchy sensual voice. Turns out they've been fricking where I keep him while I went to work. Dumped her butt the next time I saw her and told her. It was an ex of mine. Sometime into the relationship I find out I'm just the guy she's using to cheat on the other dude who she has been dating before me. It crushed me cause she was the first girl I really loved and did absolutely everything and anything for her. Kept the relationship going without letting her know and then tipped off the other dude and confronted her and broke up with her on the same day that dude broke up. She deserved it, but I never really fully moved on. It's been years and haven't had a relationship after that. My so is a veteran and very stereotypically manly. He doesn't talk about his personal life with friends, and he's pretty quiet in general. This is a southern traditional dude who opens every door for every person. He calls every person older than him mom and sir. Anyway, he has a lot of friends who are also this way and they often tease any man who says nice things about their women. His friend spilled the beans though that one night right after I met him they all got crazy drunk and he told all of them I was the love of his life and we were going to get married one day. They all teased him and were playing around when this one dude he doesn't know very well told him I had nice tea. He clocked him. He made such a commotion he's not allowed back in the bar. After his friend told me this story, I realized I had asked to go to that bar a couple of weeks ago, and he had made some excuse about the drinks being overpriced. I will never tell him I know, but if he asks me, I'll marry him. She deliberately told me she had never slept with a mutual friend of mine. The fact that she deliberately brought us up at literally a complete random time was suspicious enough. And I then saw a Facebook message from him one day because she was logged in on my phone. It said remember when we did things, more than just things friends do. Was I good? She has no idea. I wouldn't care except for the fact that she out of nowhere told me she had never done anything sexual with him. While I went one, I wouldn't even be upset too. I never even freaking asked or brought it up. When he's about to fall asleep he's completely honest. It was about 7 months in when he grabbed me and whispered into my ear, "You're gonna be the mother of my children." I told him and he was thoroughly embarrassed and he apologized. However, I neglected to tell him that pretty much every night he would tell me that he loved me starting a month in. I don't mind and I'm not trying to rush things and neither of us have any plans to jump into that sort of stuff right away, but it's nice to know. She has no idea that I know about her multiple imaginary friends. Also, she has this crazy notion that the computer programs she writes have become sentient. I am considering contacting a therapist. She says she loves me, but really she's just using me to not feel lonely. At night, once I go to bed, he binge watches Gossip Girl. XOXO. Okay, so I found out my fiance was wanting to ask me to marry him but wanted to get a super expensive ring for me, so it was taking time to save up. I don't give a crap about that type of thing. I'd marry him without a ring. That's not what's important to me. So I went to his mom and told her what I knew, and she told me we should go look at rings together so maybe I could pick something less expensive so she could tell him we had been shopping and I had fallen in love with a ring that he could afford. I know, I'm sneaky. Anyway, I found an incredible ring that was normally $500 but on sale for $100. I bought the ring and she called him and told him what she did. He was so happy. He asked me to marry him on Christmas Eve and it was by far one of the best days of my life. He has no clue that I was involved in the purchase. So, he's keeping the secret that he doesn't know that I know. She is hiding baseball tickets for when my favorite team comes into town. She is waiting to give them to me on my birthday. When I was in Afghanistan, I wanted to use the money I made to buy a motorcycle. Combat pay is better than regular pay. I didn't have a car though, and I was getting out of the Marines in 8 months and moving back to the Midwest, where it is not at all practical to only have a motorcycle. I bought a car instead. Flash forward 2 years later, I meet my girlfriend and her 1-year-old son at the end of an ugly marriage and we begin a relationship. 2 years from that point we begin living together. Throughout all this time I've still been wanting to save for a motorcycle, but we needed to focus our money on more practical things. She needed a new car, we needed to pay for childcare, etc. I put my wants on hold to address our needs. She's known about my wanting a motorcycle for as long as she's known me, and finally she approved me to spend up to $1,500 on a bike if I could find one. Well, I found one for $2,000 on Craigslist and it turned out the guy selling it was a friend from an old job I had as a security guard. He was a good friend and agreed to give me a friend price of $1,500. I went home and told my girlfriend and she said that's great, we'll get it if it's the one you want. She then found the Craigslist ad. I showed her pictures, contacted my friend, and schemed to buy it out from under me for the full asking price of $2,000. For a while I was bummed because I didn't know anything other than that my friend had another buyer willing to pay the full asking price. I told him I was just glad that my girlfriend was going to let me buy one, and he responded with yeah you're lucky, GF's name here, sounds like a real keeper. The thing is, he had never met her, and I had never mentioned her name to him, so I had my suspicions. I played along and continued searching for bikes but never being satisfied with them, always saying my friend's bike was a way better deal and that I thought I could do better. My birthday came around. She blindfolded me and drove me over to his house. She even went out and bought about a place on it so there would have no confusion. It was a present for me. I let on that I had a few suspicions because he immediately found another buyer after I told her about it a little later on, but maintained that I was blown away by the surprise. She is definitely a keeper. Back when I was first starting to make my artwork public, I had a Kickstarter campaign to fund a tour. I had just started dating my so, but he gave a relatively significant amount of money anonymously. He tripped up in selecting his backers' reward an original piece mailed to his house. When I saw the address, I definitely didn't suspect his roommates were just super supportive of my art. Combination of her drinking and her cheating. I can tell by her behavior and the look in her eyes the second she drinks. Saw texts from another guy while she was passed out. Not really sure what to do. This is a past tense secret, but my GF at the time decided to surprise me by buying a holiday to Brussels for us over my 30th birthday. I accidentally intercepted the hotel confirmation email, so decided it was a good time to propose, as I'd been considering it for about 6 months. Act all surprised when she tells me. Then when we're having dinner in the restaurant on the first night, I get down on one knee and propose, celebrating our 3-year wedding anniversary at the end of next month. You've been stopped by the bread cat. Like this video or he'll eat all your bread. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.